It started out when I was actually in fifth grade. Um, I had fistulas on my butt.
Ah,
Yeah, and so they removed them. Actually, they removed one, and then another one came. I don't know how much long afterwards. It wasn't that much long afterwards on the other side of of my cheeks, and they said, "Oh, this is a horseshoe fistula," they called it. So whatever they did, they removed what they had to remove, and I was pretty good right up until I was in high school. And right about 15, 16 years old, I started feeling pains in my stomach that wouldn't go away. At first, they thought it was gastritis or whatever. They were giving me all kinds of weird medicine that was making my urine like purple. It was like it was just they were just I don't know. I felt like I was a lab rat
man.
experimenting because they couldn't find out what it was. So my
Yeah.
my mother knew someone who recommended her to a specialist,
Mm-hmm.
a gastro specialist, and he did a colonoscopy. At the
Yeah.
time, I think he was 17, 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And after the colonoscopy, I'll never forget the day. I was in his office and he goes, "I've got good news." And I was like, "Really? What?" And he said, "We found out what it is that you have." And I was like, "Well, what is it?" He's like, "It's Crohn's disease." I was like, "Oh, okay. That's
Mm.
good." I was like, "So how do we get rid of it?" And he's like, "Oh, well, you're going to have it for the rest of your life." And
Ay.
my heart just went, boom. I'm like, "What?"
Oh,
I was just like, how's this good news? You know what I mean? In the back of my mind, I'm like looking at the doctor. I'm like, I don't, okay, so what do we do? He's like, "Well, we go on different medications and this and that, and, we can keep it under control." And, and that was pretty much how it all started
man.
started with medicine and prednisone and sulfadine. And I mean, you
But
name
this is, I mean, you name it. I mean, you're talking at 12 years old, fifth grade. You're 18 in high school. I mean, this is messing with you. No one knows what it is. That's back in the 80s and early 90s. And you finally get diagnosed at 18 in mid 90s,
it.
right?
Uh, so
93?
I graduated in '85.
You graduated high school in 85.
Yeah,
So you got diagnosed in 85, 86.
'86, I would say. Yeah.
86, you're diagnosed with Crohn's disease. And back in 86, you don't have internet. The amount of people even know what Crohn's disease is like minimal. It's very rare. You probably have to explain to everyone on the planet what's going on because they've never heard of it. I mean, that must have been just a tumultuous,
Um,
extreme experience for you, man. As a young man coming into adulthood, trying to make his way in this world and trying to deal with this. I mean,
it
that
was
was over
so
40
bad.
years ago.
Yeah. I mean, I went to computer school and I became a electronic technician, and I'm on the road fixing different electronics and things like that, and always looking for a bathroom, making sure there's a bathroom there.
Yeah.
It was a nightmare.
Man.
But what happened was at 21, it got so bad they couldn't control it,
Yeah.
no matter how high the prednisone was.
Yeah.
So they did a resection of my small intestines by the
Mm.
ileum.
Mm.
And after that, I was like, "That's it. I had enough." And that's when I started researching, trying to study. And I've gone through so many different, even naturopaths and different doctors, and some helped. Some things were good, and I stayed on the natural kind of way of life for a while. I even did the whole fasting, juicing. Um, you name it, I've done it. I've done some weird stuff too. I mean, and some of it's helped, and some of it was good.
Yeah.
Um,
Which is good. So you did some therapies that help move the bar.
oh yeah, I mean,
Hmm.
so like I didn't have, because then years went on, on and off with prednisone, um, uh, flare-ups and stuff like that, until About 5 years ago, 6 years ago, um, the doctor said, I started getting infections, and they wouldn't go away, and it got really bad.
Mm.
And they said, "So you had a resection when you were 21?" And I was like, "Yeah." They're like, "Well, you need another surgery," but they're like, "That's like 30 years, whatever you were doing. You," they're like, "That is amazing because usually once you get a surgery, it's like, pretty consistent, like five
Yeah.
years later to, you keep getting problems." So they actually commended me for whatever I was doing to keep it, that long.
I mean, we're talking 40 years of Crohn's. You've had 2 surgeries. You had to get on Remicade 5 years ago because of infections and just felt like you had tried everything. Remicade was able to help eliminate those infections and help you again. That obviously didn't work enough because then you're having symptoms come up again, and everything you've tried, everything you've done, it seems like you can't manage it. Tell me about what was going on right before you joined the S.H.I.E.L.D program and why you felt like you needed more help.
Yeah. So 5 years ago, so when they started the Remicade, it kept the inflammation under control.
Yeah.
The inflammation until last year, I started getting infections again, and Remicade doesn't help infections. Actually, it can cause infections.
More infections, yeah.
Yeah. So the inflammation, it was under control, but I started getting infections actually in my psoas muscle. It was leaking out of my intestines and attacking my psoas muscle. I couldn't lift my right leg. So bad. So they gave me antibiotics, strong antibiotics that I had to do through a PICC line because I couldn't. The antibiotics were so strong you can't take it by mouth. So they did the antibiotics. That was in June of last year. Went away, came back in October. Infection came back again. So another round of antibiotics. Then in January, infection came back again. And I was seeing for this hospital, I was at one of the top infectious disease specialists. And she was just like, we don't know what this is, why it keeps coming back, but you can't just keep being on antibiotics.
No, it's destroying your microbiome. It's destroying your body. Well, what were your symptoms when you started? Because you had tried and started working on studying natural medicine 25 years ago. You had 2 surgeries. You were already on Remicade. Maybe the antibiotics kind of messed you up too, all the years of antibiotics with the infectious disease issues. But what kind of symptoms were you having? Like, how many bowel movements were you having before we started?
So it wasn't too bad because I was on Remicade, but still, I was doing 5-6 bowel movements a day, and they were all loose.
A lot of loose diarrhea, 5-6 bowel movements a day, a good amount of undigested food in the stool too.
Yeah.
And you were getting a pretty large amount of bloating.
Yes.
And cramping and pain in the intestines.
Yes.
Some ulcers on the mouth.
Yeah.
And joint pain systemically through the body.
Yeah.
And then you had all those fistulas in the past, and you'd still be prone to abscesses.
That was the thing.
Yeah, and you were having abscesses.
Yeah.
Just in a little while ago. And we started the program back around January.
Yeah.
Right? About end of January, and it's now June. So we're talking 5-6 months in the program. But I'm looking here, it seems like within a month in the program, your diarrhea was down, your undigested food was down, you were down to 1 to 3 bowel movements a day, from 4 to 6 within a month.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and this is 40 years, 25 years, you knowing your body, trying things, taking herbs, understanding what you can eat, what you can't eat. I mean, does that blow your mind?
I wouldn't believe it unless it was that I happened to me. It blew my mind. I was like, wow, I knew a lot of this stuff already. Yeah. And but I just never was able to put it together. in a way where it works.
Let me ask you this: is there? And I know we've refined your customized plan over months and changed things, but is there one thing in the program, something in the program you want to highlight? Someone out there listening and really resonating with your journey.
So I would say it's not just any one thing. I mean, you know, following the whole S.H.I.E.L.D program helps because you're not only doing products, you're doing the food philosophy, the mental aspect of it, and it gets easier because when you feel better, it kind of like feeds on itself. Now you're more positive, and like that also comes back, and you feel better again. And then even when you fall back a little bit, it like you know what to do, and usually within a day or two you're back feeling good again. And now those days are kind of like, I don't even remember like a going backwards kind of feeling anymore.
Yeah, it's been months, and so really it's that customized approach that you really highlight, like
Because you
personal customization that you can refine. And let me ask you this: your son was diagnosed with Crohn's disease as well, and you were telling me earlier offline that your son had a little bit of a speed bump in his own health. He's not in the program,
yeah.
but you started giving him some of the protocols you learned. What happened?
Well, he's on Tassa,
Okay.
and it kind of kept him pretty much in control for the past like 2 years.
Yeah.
And for some reason he's like, Dad, I don't know what it is, but like I'm starting to have those feelings I had a couple of years ago. And I was like, oh man, I was like, so it's not, working as much anymore. I started feeling that. I know, because when I was a teenager, I knew that feeling. I was like, shit, I just don't want him going through that.
Yeah.
So right away, I had to try a couple of different products, and I'm not kidding, within a few days, he was like, Dad, I don't know what it is, but like this stuff is working. And he's been good ever since.
That's amazing. But also, that
yeah.
was you being empowered to help your son. And obviously, you want to seek consultation, doctor, before you use any type of supplement or protocol.
Well, he did. He went to the doctor, and the doctor said, whatever you're doing, just keep doing it.
There you go, right? But that was you being empowered from the program to help your family. That wasn't us. And that's such a special moment I wanted to add to your journey, is like you got empowered to say, hey, son, I think this is a good idea. Let's talk about it. What do you think? Okay, let's green light it. Doctor's cool with it. Let's try it out. And it helped.
Yeah.
You had that power.
Yeah, his calprotectin was up, and then it went down to like single digits.
Wow! So we saw the difference in the lab work.
Yeah.
Wow.
It is amazing.
And if there's one piece of advice you'd like to give, or one last word you'd like to give to anyone out there listening, because I'm sure you looked at hundreds of testimonies, hundreds of ideas. You were skeptical, as you said, about a million things. What would you say to that person out there who can really resonate with, tried everything, been sick forever? What would you say to them? I
say, go, whatever you need to do, try the S.H.I.E.L.D program. I've done it all. I've been there, and it's just amazing. I mean, and it's funny because I just want to keep getting better. I want to be like Superman. I want to be like you, Dane. It gives you that feeling of now you're in control. If something was to happen, I know now what I need to do to take it a step higher if I need to, which I don't right now. And hopefully it stays that way. But it's like I'm just going to keep on doing whatever it needs to be to get better and better and better. So, even if I have to try different products, I know you do that too, every once in a while, just to change things up a little bit, see if it, makes you feel better or whatever. And I'm just going to keep doing that. I'm not just going to stay to one thing and that's it. So that's what's great. You can change it up. You can try different things, and you're doing it while you feel good. So before it was out of desperation, whereas now it's out of just curiosity. Hey, can something make me feel better now? Or I feel good. Let me try this.